Jitendra Patel, Gautam Chaurasia. Kashyap, what is the status?
Good morning, sir.
Your reports.
Sir, I'm almost halfway through. I'm almost halfway done through the reports. I have done 8 reports. PE and SE, planning and supervising engineering assignments. I'm about to complete that.
Okay. Rishikesh Kshirsagar, Mohammed Ashfaq Khan, Prakash Bure, good morning. Welcome to you all. We are 2 minutes away to start today's topic. 23rd day. Another 2 days to complete LEAP. And Prashant, Sai Kishore, Chittibabu, Veer Raghavan. Good morning to all of you. Sanjay, NASA. Abhishek Roystar. What is the difference between sustainability and green? Kashyap. Sadanandan Dampeti.
Yes, sir. Sustainability is sustainable is when we are able to use energy which is renewable and resources are sufficiently used.
Yeah.
And green buildings is without harming the environment. For example.
So thank you, Kashyap. That's good. Good morning to you all. Nilkant Thakur, Kuruswamy. We are starting the topic today. Today's topic is green buildings and sustainability. So introduction and why green, and we also briefly touch upon carbon emissions and energy consumption and the buildings material versus operation and maintenance, about whether it is energy consumption or carbon emission, and what are USGBC, IGBC, GRIHA, TERI, and ECBC, and residential buildings, which we find that they are very important, and operation and maintenance of residential buildings contribute maximum to the greenhouse gas emissions. Actually, that's what we are going to talk about today, and need for rationality for implementing these norms actually. And this should be done by the Ministry of Urban Development. And growing population, we all know worldwide, in the last 50 years, the world population has doubled almost. We have gone up from 3 billion population to 7 billion. And unless we are, and also whatever greenhouse gas emissions that were done 100 years, till 100 years back, we added in this last 100 years. This is another biggest thing. So we all know that there is a IPCC International Protocol for carbon emission reductions, and then Global warming basically happens due to carbon emission. Let us understand this. What is this greenhouse gas effect actually? Because in greenhouse, what we do is we construct with a polythene sheet, is it not? If you almost like, and then the objective of that is to increase the temperature, particularly in cold countries for the nurseries and farming. The plants need more of carbon dioxide and they emit oxygen, whereas we need more of oxygen and we emit carbon dioxide. So if there is more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it will not allow the UV radiation to go back. So there will be a greenhouse effect on the globe actually. So by increasing the carbon emissions, we are increasing the greenhouse effect on the earth actually. So the meaning of green, why the name green has come is for the trees, they emit oxygen and they absorb carbon dioxide. So we need to create houses, greenhouses that should absorb or reduce the carbon dioxide emission and increase the oxygen in the atmosphere. So how green are our Indian buildings actually? So how much of carbon emission we are doing and how much of oxygen we are utilizing? And how attractive is Indian Green Building Congress? So is it green business or really responsibility? Actually, my concept is we no more have the luxury of claiming credits for being green actually. Either we are green or we cease to exist actually. This is the condition we are in as a globe. So as engineers, we all have to be responsible than claiming credits for this one. And also I'll be briefly touching upon these rating systems actually. What is Indian IGBC, what is GRIHA, what is LEED, what is ECBC, which is brought out by MOUD. So all these are the topics I'll be covering today. So if we see this temperature increase, these parts per million, which will cause the increase in the temperature. So this is how the temperature was maintained over the centuries, and now it is going asymptotically, very high increase in temperature. Already we have increased 1.8 degrees to 2 degrees average temperature on the globe, and it is going to have very climate change actually that is already experienced. So we are at 385 parts per million, and at 450 parts per million carbon dioxide, we will trigger potentially irreversible glacier melt and sea level rise out of humanity's control. So already we are seeing the reduction in the glacier size. These glaciers, in fact, help in maintaining our present monsoon conditions and all. So it's a high time everyone is responsible for maintaining the carbon dioxide emission to the lowest level possible, and also the energy consumption of renewable source. So if you see the emissions, carbon dioxide emissions increase, it is growing very rapidly. And carbon dioxide concentration also is increasing. You can see this is the carbon dioxide concentration. We are almost touching the 450, the alarming levels actually. So temperature and the sea level rise. With this increase in temperature, we see that the glaciers will be melting and the sea level will rise because of the glacier melting. Whether it is North Pole or South Pole, there will be a melting, and there is a prediction of sea level rise of almost like 5 meters, which is very dangerous. We will see many cities disappearing, like Mumbai, New York, Chennai, all these kind of cities may disappear. So this is what is that climate change actually we are talking about? This is the ocean conveyor belt. This is what is the present what north, southeast, southwest monsoon we have, and we have northeast monsoon in India. And this is the ocean currents that are happening. And if the reversal happens, this is how the climate change will happen. And our rainy seasons will change and the temperatures will rise and unpredictable climate will be there. Now we have predictable climate. Every June 1st week, we expect the monsoon in India and it continues till October and November, we get the northeast monsoon. These cycles will change if we are not following these green norms. So it is in our hands whether we want to have a toast in future or no. Only means we'll lose that luxury of even making a toast if we don't follow these norms. So climate change is the single largest opportunity for the humanity actually since the mobilization of the World War. And now we are seeing the effects also if we, with our rapid growth and mad race of growth. We are seeing the effect. We are all at home now. The nature will not allow us to be irresponsible actually. Here, why I choose this photograph is you can see Mahatma Gandhi behind in US GVC Congress. So we have to be very responsible. That's what we are trying to say. So we must mitigate this. How we will mitigate this carbon dioxide emissions and global temperature change, how to bring it. So this is the cutoff actually. We should not go beyond this 2.5 degrees. Then we should try to at least, okay, 2 degrees we have increased. At least let us try to maintain that 2 degrees, lock it at increased 2 degrees, not go beyond. So this is the typical built environment we see in the world actually. If you see United States, you have the Boston, Washington, New York, almost connected, Chicago, all cities are connected if you see from the top. So that is the contribution of built environment to the energy consumption and the carbon dioxide emission actually. So green buildings, why we have to sustain, why we are talking about buildings only. Normally, if you talk about pollution, anybody will show the picture of an industry or picture of a transport vehicles. But in reality, built environment contributes for 51% of carbon dioxide emission. And built environment consumes 76% of energy. And 31% of carbon dioxide of in this 51, that means almost 60% is from residential buildings. And in the residential buildings also, 75% of the emission is from operation and maintenance. So only 25% in materials during construction. So this is very important data for us to understand, for us to plan responsibly, whether it is building planning, instead of spending more time on materials and all that, because material is a one-time affair, whereas operation and maintenance is throughout the life of the structure. So whatever we plan for operation and maintenance, we have to maintain the emission levels low, and also we have to design the systems that consume low energy or energy efficient systems. So carbon credits are available internationally. So you have to use the materials and operation and maintenance through which you can buy the carbon credits or sell the credits. So if you sell the credits, whatever you invest on saving this, you will be able to earn at the initial stage itself, thereby reducing the capital cost. So building designs to sustain environment. So we have to have the designs. So we engineers have 90% role to sustain actually. So this is what is the main aim of my talk. In fact, this is the topic I have been talking last 12 years. And first time I attended the Green Building Congress in 2000. And since then I have been thinking, and 2008 when I wanted to seriously get into this business of development, as an engineer, I thought I must be responsible and build the concepts that we save the carbon emissions and also we optimize the consumption of the energy. So I started working on these things. And so if we see 51% of United States energy is in built environment, and 55% of total United States carbon dioxide emission is from built environment. So this is the comparison of transport contributes. In fact, we feel that industry contributes highest, but industry is only 22%, and the transport is 27%, and built environment is 51%. The contribution of energy demand. And this is the overall in built environment. If you see, of this 51%, 22% is residential, and commercial is 17%. So operations is 39%. Overall buildings 9%. This is materials. We have this is in operations, and this is in the materials. So infrastructure is 3%. Infrastructure is roads, water supply, and all that. So this is the overall out of 51%. So in the overall 100, if you take 100 score of the energy consumption, 22% is going into. So this is the single largest segment which consumes energy, actually residential. So this is where we have to focus. That's what is mine. And commercial is 17%, and other buildings is 9%. Infrastructure is 3%. So building operations overall 76% of US energy, and industrial is 23%, and transportation is 1% only. So now it is going to increase, actually, transportation, because of the electrical vehicles and all that. And that you can save by even using the solar energy. So these are the relative pictures of country-wise, if you see how responsible each country is. This is United States and China, and then India and Dubai. So this is the relative pictures of the construction or built environment that we see, actually. So what are all the carbon emission and energy consumption? We see nowadays burning of waste. Many people think that the waste, generating energy from the waste is green. No, that is the worst thing that can happen. At the most, we should extract the gases from the, whether it is solid waste or sewage, and we should never resort to burning of the waste, because that contributes to direct toxic gases emissions and all. And then coal-fired power is next, actually, which we have to reduce or minimize. And DG power, people are using, we used to see the advertisements that they will provide air conditioners as part of the construction, and then provide DG backup for air conditioners too. That's the most irresponsible thing that we can do, actually. Let us design the buildings that are that don't need air conditioners, actually, in India. And material manufacturing, also we have to use the materials that are naturally available. And burnt clay bricks, we have to desist, actually. We should ban totally, because clay is a natural material, degradable, biodegradable, and we need it for farming and all that. Already we are covering the earth with buildings. And if we also burn the clay, we are also killing the future opportunities of agriculture. Appliances like geyser, TV, gas stove, and computers, we have to use responsibly. And also we have to use solar heating in place of geysers, and we can have these solar cookers, as I mentioned, in solar farm. And air conditioners also, we can have air cooling in place of air conditioning. And refrigeration, we have DC refrigerators where we can save a lot of losses in the energy. And waste management, garbage, this I always cover in the waste topic also, that we have to neutralize the waste at every level, at the house level, and at the community level, and at the colony level, and at the city level. We should minimize the disposal of waste, actually, or we should reach the level of zero waste, actually. And sewage also, and the water recycling from the sewage. So finally, the simple principle is recycle any material, reuse the materials, and reduce the usage of materials. This are energy. all for energy also we should use renewable energy, and we should also use the materials, resort to reuse of the materials and the reduction of usage of materials in planning. So everything we should learn to reach lean living actually. We should, of course, saying preaching is easy, implementing is difficult, but if we don't implement now, our children and our grandchildren have to, they will not have this luxury we are having. So it is our responsibility to give our children and their children a good future by being responsible today. So food, if you see the what you call operation and maintenance, in that we use food and water energy 19% and heating or cooling 38% and lighting 18% and appliances 13% and the others 12%. This is the energy. So we know that heating and cooling is the biggest thing that we have to focus on in operation and maintenance. So by 2030, we have to reduce the percentage of energy consumption, and we have to target to be carbon neutral by 2030. Carbon neutral is dating back by 1990 as the benchmark actually. We should, then whatever was the carbon emissions we had, we should reach to that level, which is very tough actually. And green turnover is going to increase actually. So this is the opportunities that we have, reuse of the materials, and we have to build the carbon credits of 150 billion, and then by 2035, 400 billion. So this is the different materials, lighting systems, like we are seeing already LED lights being available because they consume least energy for lighting, insulation for air conditioning for the buildings and windows, fuel efficient commercial vehicles, nuclear power, fuel efficient vehicles, solar, usage of solar, forestation, and soil conservation, and high cost power sector abatement. So this is the negative side. So these are the green business opportunities that we have to reduce the 27 billion tons of carbon emission. So this is the building envelopes. You have the negative, which we can reduce, and the new building insulations, appliances, windows like where UV factor of the glass we can use, which will be less than 0.27. And washers, dryers, washing is another big thing, lighting, and then water heaters. So these are the opportunities that we can foresee for 4 billion tons of carbon dioxide. So 126 billion tons of coal reserves. We are consuming 2 billion tons per year. That means we are adding 2 new power plants, coal-fired power plant, thermal power plant. So we have to reduce this and switch over to solar or other renewable energies. So let us come to the green buildings, what we can do in green buildings. In materials, we have to use the recyclable materials, reusable materials, and reduce the materials use. And you know, the surprising fact is we all use the TV, laptop, computers, so many standby, even AC standby mode. So the standby mode power consumes about, consume about 150 megawatt of power every day. So we should learn to switch off, because standby mode also consumes power. In fact, the idea of green has come to me when I was in a presentation. I was attending a presentation by one of the investors from US. He's showing in the laptop in a hotel, and suddenly battery was going down. Then he put the power. Then laptop screen brightened. Today also you can observe the power when you have the infinite power, you will be using more power. And when you have, so then I was told that Intel and all these hardware companies have spent billions of dollars on research to optimize the power. Even in our mobile phone, we have power saving mode when the battery is going down. So when you have a finite energy available, you will optimize usage. When you think it is infinite, you will be irresponsible. So the same concept is applicable to our whole living actually. Never think that we have infinite resources. We have only finite resources. So we have to optimize so this is the idea I got. Then I thought, no, we must work for optimizing this power consumption in any project that we design, and the materials, resources also we have to optimize. So solar, wind, tidal, wave energy are almost like zero carbon emission. And recycle trash and wastewater. And Indian culture by itself is sustainable, in fact, because non-vegetarian in India was always 1 day per week or 2 days per week. Of course, now we are changed to almost every day. But as a culture in India, Friday I don't eat non-veg. Some people say Tuesday I don't. So we had that inbuilt system. And if you see any of your ancestral homes, we used to have a composting pit in the backyard. And we never used to connect our sewage into the main lines and city level, big city. We used to have the absorption of the sewage at the house level itself. And we have the whole system, rag pickers. They used to buy old used items, and there is a recycling system in our culture. So only now with urbanization and all, we are forgetting our own traditions and we are throwing away everything. So we have to switch over to our culture, then automatically we are sustainable actually. Our culture is sustainable. That's what I always say. And laundromats we used to have the Dobie system, we never used to wash clothes in the bathroom where detergent is connected to the sewers. And because I mentioned about it, waste treatment of detergent is the costliest thing actually. So in Europe, even 20 years back, they implemented not to connect washing machines to the sewers actually. That is a rule. Whereas here we do it and we don't treat, because then we don't bother, because sewage itself is not treated. And solar heating, so laundromat will help in reducing the detergent mix into the sewers. So you can treat the sewage efficiently. And energy efficient appliances, you must switch over to DC appliances, whether it is air conditioners, whether it is refrigerators, fans. You have DC fans, because what we are doing is we are generating the power in AC. We are storing the power by using inverter. And AC power we are storing in battery by inverter to DC. So there is a huge losses actually. The estimated losses in power is about 30% because of this AC to DC and DC to AC. So if you generate power in DC like solar you use, and directly use DC for DC appliances, then you save all these losses actually. And also you reduce the usage of batteries. And also we should encourage this net metering and dual tariff system in the power. So these are all the things that we can implement. So this is the grid parity nationwide, bringing the reduced cost products to market by 2010. And so these are the green things that we can plan. Shading for the windows so that we reduce the energy heat absorption, so that your air conditioning will be reduced. So we should use the high performance windows and use the insulation so that your indoor temperature is reduced. Use the photovoltaic PV solar generation on the roofs so that the roof heat also is reduced. And the solar thermal for hot water or replacing the geysers. And use the air recirculation, ventilation, proper ventilation you can plan. And the passive cool or heat and the thermal recycling, that is for cold countries. This is the thermal mass. And here we can, thermal storage is always common. Like in India, we have to store the cold, that is frozen thing. We have these thermal storage tanks even in air conditioning actually. During the night time when the temperature is less, you create the ice, store as a frozen nitrogen, and then use it for during the day, that temperature that is brought down. So heat pumps are there in India. In hot climates also we can use. So we have this USGBC platinum rating, and IGBC is formed in India in 2000, and Godrej is doing this. CII Godrej is heading this IGBC. IGBC Green Home Rating System is almost like replica of USGBC, which I'm not happy. We have to develop the what you call the rating system. That is here. My point is air conditioning gets 15 points for residential, but in India, if you see, 80% of the population don't use air conditioners itself. So how can we make them green? By if we don't, so the assessment of any green rating system should be connected with the carbon emission, and should be connected with the energy consumption. So we see that the richest people consuming electricity power bill of 60 lakhs per month, they save 10% or 15%, and you say that they are green. And there are people who don't use electricity itself. Then how green they are? So this is the thing actually. We have 6 climatic zones in India, and we have 6 stratas of people: ultra rich and rich. Like that, we have the higher income groups, middle income groups, lower income groups, and economically weaker sections are below poverty line. So what is the green rating for each of these strata and in each of the climatic zones? ECBC talks about these climatic zones. So we have to have solar power. For example, in the IGBC, we have, if you use solar power to up to 20%, if you can convert using solar power, then you get 2 points. And about 100% also 2 points. So these are all the some anomaly, and the materials, local definition of local material also is not that great. And cooking gas, air cooling, natural light ventilation, natural lighting and ventilation, solar heating, and energy efficient appliances, recycling of trash, treated water, materials to use recyclable and reusable materials, and simple living and Indian culture. These are the main things that we can bring in to our design. So the platinum rating or 5-star by Griha, is it really green? This is my question. We have to analyze the real, and we have to rationalize our green design actually. So these are the site efficiency points that we have in IGBC. Submit environmental clearance certificate and environment impact assessment, and approved by Ministry of Environment and Forest. And you can go for state environment impact assessment up to 150,000 square meters. So these are the norms actually. And local building regulations we have to maintain to get the points on this. And soil erosion control we have to maintain. And so if the topsoil in the project is not fertile, suitable for preservation, in such a case, the project may provide relevant specification. So we have to plan the design of filling or excavation. We should not dispose the earth from the site. And at the same time, we should not also spoil the fertile soils actually. So we have to plan this efficiently. So, and we have to document all the design that we are doing, post-occupancy condition and during construction condition and prior to construction condition. So stockpile fertile topsoil and reuse later for landscaping purpose the stockpile soil. Consider adopting measures such as temporary and permanent seeding, earth dike, silt fencing, and all that. So these are all the credit one. Intent is to reduce the negative impacts caused on environment due to automobile use by providing basic household amenities. And compliance options, we have to plan. Multi-dwelling residential units, you have 2 points. If you select the site with access to at least 7 basic household amenities within walking distance of 1 kilometer. That means whether it is social infrastructure, school, and all. So we should plan as much as possible walk to work concepts and basic household amenities, compliance options, and required documents and approach methodologies. So list of basic household amenities are bank, ATM, saloons, and bus stop, railway station for transport, and educational institutions, electricity, water utility, electrical, plumbing, grocery stores, and hardware shops, laundry, medical clinic, hospital, and place of worship, playground, jogging track, pharmacy, post office or courier, public library, restaurant. These are all the amenities that we have to provide within the community that we are designing. Minimize the disturbances to the site. So avoid disturbance by retaining the natural topography. We should not cut and fill the huge tracts of land actually. Points are avoided. Greater than 15% individual residential units, you get 1 point, and multi-dwelling, you get 2 points. And if you save greater than or equal 25%, you get 4 points. Design the vegetated spaces, landscape. Normally, as per bylaws, we have 10% dot lot and green spaces that we have to create. So if you create, you get 1 point or 2 points for multi-dwelling. So reduce the heat islands. This is in the design. So yeah. So shade from tree cover within 5 years, and open grid pavers, including grass pavers, and that means for absorption of the water and all. So heat island effects we have to reduce, and then we have these intents defined. I'm not going to train on this rating system, but I'm just trying to give you inputs on various points that are covered in the green rating system. So design for differently abled, this is also very important in any project, whether it is office, residential, and all that. So basic facilities for construction workforce, that is a HSE, which is part of our thing. If you promote welfare of construction workforce by providing safe and healthy work environment, first aid and sanitary measures, and all adequate drinking water facilities, and provide prospective buyers and occupants with descriptive guidelines that educate and help them implement green design features within their flats and houses. So there also you have the points actually, include green design features. So develop a summary of sustainable design features and tips and guidelines which can be considered by the occupants, and include providing signages of the green features implemented in the project and program for workers and occupants. And next is the water efficiency. Enhance groundwater table and reduce municipal water demand through effective rainwater management. You should do the conservation of water. So rainwater harvesting to capture at least 25% of runoff volumes from the roof and non-roof areas. And the harvesting system design should cater at least 1 day of normal rainfall occurred in the last 5 years. That means you should design the storage for collection and storage of the rainwater. So we should document that we have designed all this. And water efficiency, minimize the use of municipal water, reduce the load on wastewater system, and select water efficient plumbing fixtures whose flow rates capacities meet the baseline criteria, because energy consumption is there on water supply system also. So we should use the we have done the study that the hydropneumatic system consumes lesser energy compared to gravity system actually. So you should, as much as possible, resort to hydropneumatic systems in the water supply, and design landscapes to ensure minimum water consumption, and limit use of turf on the soil, on the site, so as to conserve water. So design landscapes to ensure minimum water consumption, and required documentation, we have to show that. So water efficiency, central shut-off walls, water leakages to minimize, and moisture sensor control, and turf and each type of bedding area. So these are all the points that are there in the green building rating. So rainwater harvesting system, if you have greater than 50% from the roof and non-roof areas, it is 2%, 2 point. And if you get greater than 75% from the roof and non-roof area, if you reuse that water, rainwater harvesting and rainwater conservation, you'll get 4 points. So these are all the things, water efficiency credits, plumbing efficiency fixtures. So there is a baseline criteria defined. If you use less than 25% of the baseline criteria, you get 2 points. And if you get less than 35%, you get 4 points. And the required documentation is the drawings and the specifications to be documented. Reduce consumption of potable water and wastewater generation to minimize the burden on municipal streams actually. So provide an on-site treatment system to treat 100% of wastewater generated and reuse that water. If you reuse greater than 95% of it, you get 2 points, and greater than 50%, you get 1 point. So required documentation, dual plumbing lines, dual plumbing line. That means one for the potable water and one for the recycled water. Recycled water you can use in flushing and landscape actually. So potable water consumption. In fact, we have even done 4 categories of water lines. One is super potable, that is direct drinking, and potable, that is for wash basins and cooking and bath, and recycled water for flushing and landscaping, and hot water, solar hot water, separate line. So these are the 4 lines we have to design in the system. And the required documentation, energy efficiency. So use CFC-free refrigerants in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So this is the energy efficiency mandatory requirement is improve energy efficiency to reduce environmental impact. So we can do performance-based approach, and option 1 is prescriptive approach. So building envelope, solar heat gain coefficient, wind glazing, U factor, and overall roof assembly, U value, lighting, so air conditioning systems. So simulation based, that means you can do the solar heat gain, you can simulate the whole design and prove that you are using the overall building envelope, efficient building envelope to reduce the heat gain in the building. So this is the minimum energy performance, and so prescriptive approach maximum 10 points and performance based approach 10 points. So total you can target 20 points in the energy efficiency. So install renewable energy systems for at least 5% of the total connected load of the building, and for multi-dwelling units 2.5% of the total connected load. This is what I am not very satisfied. So if you have renewable energy as percentage of total connected load greater than 5%, 2 points, and greater than 10%, 4 points, and for multi-dwelling units 2.5% you get 2 points, greater than 7.5% you get 6 points. This is not really good. In fact, if I use 100% watt, how many points I get? I get 6 on. Or if I use 7.5% also, I get 6 points on. So this is what our assessment should be on the carbon emission model, actually, total carbon emission model, because energy is the major thing that contributes to carbon emissions. So energy saving measures like ceiling fans, electric geysers, so 4-star rated appliances and electric geysers, and we should try to switch over to DC appliances. This is my point actually. And so these are all the credits, multi-dwelling units, 2 credits for 4-star rated, and ISI certified pumps, and 4-star rated pumps, 75% energy efficiency. So it's all connected to the star rating of the appliances, and we should have the reduced dependence on fossil fuels for in situ power generation. That means the generators we should desist from usage actually. So encourage continuous monitoring. This is what I said. Any greenhouse, we must make the stakeholders and end users more responsible. You can make them more responsible, like by showing the data on your mobile or display at your home. How much power you are consuming every day, what is your power bill. A small display or connected real estate can help in making people more responsible in energy consumption. Next is the materials and resources, separation of household waste and like batteries, e-waste, lamps and all, and waste, organic waste management post occupancy. We have to see that 95% of organic waste generated is composted. And this is the organic waste management. For individual residential units, you get 2 points. Install on-site waste treatment system for treating 95% of organic waste. And for multi-dwelling units, it is 50% of organic waste. If you install, that's okay. Approach and methodologies, we have to show that treatment is possible on-site and show the composting area for that on-site organic waste treatment. And the salvaged, reuse of salvaged materials. So this is another big thing, and encourage the use of salvaged building materials, that is the construction and demolition waste. In olden days, we used to have a clay brick construction, and all the broken bricks we used to use for terrace, brick bed coba for weatherproofing course. So this kind of systems, we should, instead of disposing the waste, you should reuse in the construction. You should plan in the construction such that whatever dead mortar we used to use for even plain concrete in the flooring, you know, using the brick beds we used to do. So this kind of innovative things we have to work. And also, if you are demolishing a house, old house, you should reuse the doors, windows, which are reusable, and steel also. We can use, reuse the steel actually. And floorings, like whatever granite, marble, we should reuse it. Flooring, frames, furniture, paneling, all this we should reuse. And then we should have the recycled content in the false ceilings or bricks, concrete also you can use the recycled content. So local materials, this is what again ensure at least 50% of total building materials by cost used in the buildings are manufactured within distance of 400 kilometers. The raw material of that manufacturing is 500 kilometers. So this is a real, I mean, it's not really good actually, this point. We should try to use the materials which are totally locally available. Means we should give more points. So, and Forest Stewardship Council or program for endorsement of forest certification, we have to use the wood that is certified by the forest, or mostly we should use the engineered wood, that is plywood or manufactured wood and all that, MDF kind of material. And enhanced daylighting, enhanced fresh air, this is indoor environment quality. Fresh air ventilation, exhaust systems, and low VOC materials in paints and adhesives, and building flush out and cross ventilation. Flush out is by the draft ventilation, natural draft ventilation. Innovation and design process. So these are the overall credit points for multi-dwelling units. So you have maximum of 10 points in the site efficiency, 23 points in the water efficiency, and 19 points in the energy efficiency. So energy performance is 11 required. And then materials, we have the 10 points. And then indoor air quality, you have the 9 points. And innovation, you have the 4 points. So total 75. So if you get points above 53, you will be rated platinum. And 45 to 52 is gold. I mean, I'm not interested in these numbers, but you have the rating system that certifies if you are above 30 points. So these are the things, and I feel that instead of trying for rating, we should work for reducing the carbon emission and then reducing the energy consumption and also reducing the fossil fuel energy consumption. So this is the main aim of this. And so these are the LEED certification you have, IGBC you have, GRIHA you have, ECBC you have. So LEED certification also, these are the IGBC credits and GRIHA credits. And we have done already some buildings like ISB, Indian School of Business. We did a residential project where we got a gold rating. We targeted silver. By making 1 or 2 points more, we got gold. And so this is not a really good thing. So this is a building that has got gold rating. And we have done another small project in Vijayawada, which is platinum rated. And we also targeted buildings. So these are the target points that we have achieved. And it is certified platinum by IGBC. And we also have the Griha certified projects. So in Navy also recently we got three-star. Chittubabu, what is the rating for Navy project? So these are the projects we certified Griha, and so Griha Green Rating Integrated Habitat Assessment. This is the points similar to that. So Griha also you can target and get 5-star if it is above 90, and 4-star up to 90, like this. So this is the Griha rating system. And the Energy ECBC also provides the guidelines. Now it is mandatory to have the ECBC certification for the buildings in permissions in corporation, urban land bodies. So we must target to use this ECBC norm. Yeah, now ECBC is the compulsory thing in almost all the states. It is part of the Uniform Building Bylaws, which is issued by the central government long back. In fact, this work is happening for last 15 years on ECBC, and then you have the points for shape of the building, define the non-regular occupancy areas, and building envelope and materials focus parameters are defined. And the building envelope, mainly the climates are defined, opaque walls. You have the windows, they are defined with U factor. And so this is the thermal insulation that will reduce the heat penetration into the buildings, and natural ventilation that can. So for roofs and envelope fenestrations, these are the recommended values. And entire requirement of hot water shall be met by solar energy. This is the ECBC requirement. And dimming provisions for areas like lobby and common areas with the digital analog multiple scene programmable dimmers. So we should have the automatic lighting system. And when there are no people, why you have this lighting itself? So we should have this. I have seen 20 years back itself in Europe. When you get into corridor, only corridor lighting will be on. So we have to implement these things as a compulsory thing, not an option. And the pumps which have variable frequency drives like hydropneumatic systems, what I'm saying, and environmental friendly refrigerants and R134 instead of CFC refrigerators, and energy efficient water cooled chillers, which will be requiring very less power water cooling, and ductless ventilation systems like VRV and all. That is parking systems, and consumption of that means you provide the exhaust and fresh air circulation into the parking areas, and fresh air intake to all areas as per ASHRAE 2004 standards. So is green a brand or a copyright to sustain? Sustainable is carbon energy efficient system, and most of heritage world buildings shall be platinum. So green initiative shall be basis for future, and rating shall be, we should not work for rating and advertising or selling actually. Green is a responsibility. Being green is a responsibility. This is my point actually of talk today. So research to study Indian living conditions and benchmark living standards and energy consumption. So this is my point actually. There is a lot of scope for research in Indian conditions. We have to do the actual consumption of the power and how we can reduce this. So this is the important thing. We don't have minimum standards for the 30% of the people, like they don't have a house, they don't have food, they don't have clothes. What green rating we are talking about for them? So we have to first give them the house to live. We have to give them the food to eat actually. So this is the first responsibility. So climatic zones to be identified and norms developed for each climatic zone separately. And benchmarking for EWS, LIG 1 and 2, MIG, HIG, and luxury homes should be separate. Benchmarking we have to do. And total reduction in capital and operation and maintenance carbon emission. That is the target actually. So today, if we are having X carbon emission, we should target to reduce 10% first year, next year 15% like that, or decade wise. We should target net metering and dual tariff and subsidize the taxes and impact fees for green buildings. Otherwise, people are not doing for charity actually. And mandatory norms such as solar heating, STP, solid waste, rainwater conservation, green power, and community washing shall be mandatory actually. It is not optional. Let the built environment sustain. So green buildings is the only way we sustain. So growing population. So this is the green buildings materials that we have to see. So I'll quickly go into the materials actually. So quantity generated in million tons per annum, quantity and makeup of C&D waste per annum in India. So we have to reuse this C&D, sustainable home construction. We have to plan insulation, framing of the structures and roofing of the structure. And so this is the lawn, a typical sustainable design you can have with the lawn and water conservation, water harvesting. And so these are all the sustainable design concepts that we have to adopt for all the features. So energy use, we should target to reduce by 24 to 50%, and carbon emissions, we should target to reduce by 33 to 39%. And water use, reduced by 40%, solid waste, 70% disposal reduction actually. So reduction in steel and up to 93% recycled content in steel construction, and more than 98% of steel in construction can be reduced. So this is the embodied carbon in building materials. So we should know rubber has got the highest embodied carbon, plastic, then steel 1.82, and timber and cement is 0.82, and concrete has got 0.134. Bricks have got 0.2, and asphalt has got less, and MDF has got 0.58, timber 0.476. So these are the embodied carbon in materials, so that we should consider while designing. Green construction materials, so sustainable building materials. So aesthetic quality, durability, ecological impact, and embodied energy, we have to consider performance, we have to consider social impact. That means you should not replace the materials quite often. So is it the cheaper or is it the, so cost versus value, we have to go for the value, long-term value, life cycle value of the materials. So these are all the sustainable building materials that we have to use in flooring, wall finishes, cabinets, like furniture and solid surface, tiles and insulation. So waste-based flooring we can use, and FSC certified flooring or wood sustainable carpeting. So these are all the rapidly renewable flooring options. Bamboo is one of the best renewable material. So we can use the bamboo in the flooring also. And palm-based wood materials, and sorghum flooring, and eucalyptus flooring, and natural linoleum flooring, and recycled aggregate flooring. You can use that also. You can make like terrazzo or mosaic tiles, and cork-based material flooring, and sustainable carpeting, and sisal carpeting, and seagrass carpeting we can use in the offices. And then these are all the sustainable carpeting materials. And Forest Stewardship Council certified flooring. We have these wooden floorings, that is, as I said, this is all the engineered wood. So compliance with laws, we should not buy the wood that is not allowed by forest actually. So these are all the reclaimed and forest salvaged wood. And wall finishes, low and zero VOC paints and natural plasters and natural paints. So these are the zero VOC paints which we can use, and low VOC paints, and then natural plasters like gypsum and POP, hydraulic lime plasters and clay plasters. And so these are the plasters and lime paints, clay paints and milk paints, and this what you call furniture. So this is the sorghum furniture, bamboo finish, and then palm furniture, FSC certified wood, and waste-based countertop materials. We have this waste-based countertop materials. So this is all using the recycled content. So we should encourage when we are specifying any finishes, we should check how much of recycled content it is there. It is all now made mandatory to declare the recycled content in each of these materials. So this is the waste-based countertop materials. So we can use these. They look very aesthetic, and at the same time they are green. Paper-based countertop materials. And tiles, recycled stone tiles and recycled ceramic tiles and recycled glass tiles. So this is the recycled stone tiles, and these are recycled ceramic tiles and recycled glass tiles. And insulation, cotton insulation, blown cellulose insulation. So we can use the insulation in the walls to reduce the temperature ingress. So this is about green buildings, green materials, and sustainability concepts. So if you, now I'll take the questions. Government is doing implementation of ECBC as mandatory requirement. Yeah, it will continue, Mandalji. Engineers Forum meetings will continue. I was occupied yesterday. I couldn't fix the time. That's why I didn't organize yesterday. Some commercial buildings, they are using radiant cooling, not radial. Radiant cooling is more energy efficient compared to our VRV or this one. That means we'll keep the chilled water line or chiller line in the concrete slab itself and blow the air onto the slab so that you can maintain the temperature, lower temperatures inside with lesser energy consumption. That is the concept actually. Radiant cooling. And any other questions you have? Oscar, can you mute all? I'm getting some disturbance. So if there are no other questions, I'll conclude for the day. What are the encouragement contributions from government? That is the problem actually. There is no differentiation between the people who are green and who are not green. That is an unfortunate thing. In fact, the government should tax more on the people who are not green. Carbon credits, yeah. See, if you can prove that the building design, like solar, you set up a solar farm, you get the carbon credits. You can sell these credits. There are people who are irresponsible who emit more carbon and they buy those credits by paying. This is as per the IPCC norm actually. Fireproof materials and energy rating may clash. Yeah, that we have to balance as in the design. Fire rating versus this one. Clustering of building plays important role in sustainability. Yeah, that's right. Costing of green building than conventional building. In fact, we should not think of the cost. Actually, we have to see the life cycle cost. In fact, still people are not conscious about the. Suppose you should show that operation and maintenance charges that are normally 2 rupees per square feet nowadays. If you can show that you can make it to 1 rupee 50 paisa per month per square feet, then you will be able to sell the concept of green actually. So that's why I say don't do green building design for the sake of credits. You do the green building design for the sake of really saving the carbon emission and optimizing the energy consumption actually. So thank you very much. We have 2 days more left for the LEAP stage 2. Tomorrow and day after will be the last session. And so thank you all. Hope to see you tomorrow. Bye. Have a good day.